What is going on, everybody? I am AJ. I'm going to break down UFC Vegas 21, but I'm not alone. I am joined by Kelton. Really happy to be joined by him. I was on his podcast last week, so returning the favor here. Good chopping it up with him. Good consensus last week, and we're looking to continue that momentum. So before we get into the card, I want to check in with him. Kelton, how are you doing? And thanks for joining me.
I'm doing great, man, and it's exciting to reverse the roles now. You came on my show, now I'm about to come on your show. I feel like we killed the podcast. We got a lot of our picks right, we got our bets right, consensus, underdog play, and yeah, man. This card, when I first looked at this card, it was not looking good. But the more I dig deep into the fights, I think it's all right from a betting perspective, but damn, this is a great DraftKings card. I can't wait to talk about some of the spots and just fights altogether. I'm targeting on DraftKings. Like, I'm going to go big on DraftKings Saturday.
100%, man. Yeah. And for the viewers that don't know, I don't have a lot of action on this card. Of course, I'm going to talk about it in full. I did research a lot of it. Kelton's got some plays. We'll talk about some DraftKings. We'll just kind of kick it around and, see where it takes us. So first fight on the events is Jason Witt and Matthew Semelsberger. And I'm going to let Kelton start off with this fight because he's got a bet here.
Yeah, I just made a bet today. The line's been getting better on Semelsberger. I decided to move in. I put 2 units on him at minus 120. And I also put 1 unit on Semelsberger to finish this fight via KO/TKO at plus 375 now. That prop was really the thing that stood out to me most and really what got me to look into this fight because, I mean, let's just be honest here. When I think of Jason Witt and when I want to break down his fights, just the first thing that comes to my mind, Jason Witt is not the most durable guy in the world. He has been knocked out 4 times. He's been dropped and rocked a lot more, and I can comfortably say by lesser fighters than Matt Semelsberger. I actually like what I see from Semelsberger. Now, you can go back a couple years, look at some of Semelsberger's fights and say, oh man, this guy, he's got kind of shaky wrestling, and that's where Jason Witt is strongest at. So, I did have a little bit of cause for concern, but man, the more I look into this Semelsberger guy, I like him. He actually played linebacker in college football, big, strong, beefy dude. He's got that power, that strength, and man, I can't be overly confident here in saying that he's going to be able to just stuff every single takedown from Witt and just spark him early. I think he probably will get taken down once or twice, but even when I was watching those fights from a couple years ago where he was get taken down, he got back up like at least 75% of the time. He does have a decent get up game, and man, I just feel like every second on the feet here is going to be shaky for Jason Witt. It's just, and it's not even a chin thing; it's a striking defense thing. It's not good, man. He's 35, almost 35, or 34, almost 35 years old. I got to go with the younger guy, the better athlete guy with a 5-inch reach advantage. And yeah, I think Semelsberger, I'm not quite sold on him being like a top 25, top 30 guy here, but you know what? I just need him to be good enough to win this fight. And yeah, so I looked at that KO prop. I for sure was going to take the shot on that. And I didn't want to go too big on it because sometimes when you bet these props, things don't go the way you think. And maybe he drops Witt twice, gets a 10-8 round and ends up taking a decision. I wanted to have a little bit of money on it straight as well. So yeah, I took that route. So I got a total of 3 units on Semelsberger. It's just, yeah, he hits hard. I have faith he can get back up to his feet in a 15-minute span. Like, I think he can crack this chin, man. Witt has been knocked out and hurt by much lesser fighters, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm pretty much right there with you. My pick is Semelsberger. My suspicion is that his defensive grappling is better than it maybe has shown in some of his past regional fights. It looks solid in that debut against Carlton Minus, who I know we saw struggle the following fight against Giagos, but just technically, you mentioned the athletic background. I like his double leg takedown. He understands like positional control, body triangle. So my lean is that his grappling is overall solid, not elite by any means. And that would be Witt's path to victory is take Semelsberger down. I'm pretty much with you the striking. I think Semelsberger's got him covered there. He's got 5 inches of reach. I think he looks solid technically, counters well, very good combinations. His footwork isn't the best. Like, he was kind of following Minus instead of cutting him off there, but I don't think that'll be a huge issue here. So I generally think you're on the right side here. I'm not going to be betting this fight, but I hope your bet's cash. The next fight, Jinyu Fry and Gloria De Paula. This is my only bet on the event. On the events. I like De Paula here. I just think that, she's going to be the more physical fighter here, a natural strawweight. Frey has fought, usually at atomweight in the past. And, Frey's previous two opponents in the UFC were former atomweights, De Paula, there's some unknowns on her. This is her UFC debut. We don't know exactly if she's ready for this level yet. My eyes tell me she probably is. I think she's a more varied striker on the feet. I think she hits harder. I think that she's also the better clinch fighter. She's training partners with Mayra Bueno Silva, who they utilize that Muay Thai clinch, hard knees, hard elbows. I think she could do a lot of damage there. We saw Loma Lookboonmee have success in the clinch against Frey. Frey has this tendency of backing straight up into the fence and allowing the clinch easily. I think that plays right into De Paula, what she wants to do. And in terms of the grappling, I don't think De Paula has bad takedown defense. She got taken down in that Contender Series fight, but she does a decent job of getting her hips back. She's also strong. So even if Frey gets her down, I think De Paula is a much better submission grappler than her. So she can maybe threaten her from her guard, control her posture from bottom position. So yeah, I think De Paula's pretty much got her covered everywhere. I put 2 units on her at minus 170. So yeah, I think De Paula, I see value on her money line, and I think she wins. So what are your thoughts here, Kelton?
Yeah, man, I definitely agree with what most of you said. I actually was on Loma Lookboonmee in that last fight against Jinyu Frey. Loved that bet. I just figured she had her covered on the feet for sure. And really Frey's only path to victory, kind of like here, probably would have been the wrestling. And I just figured if Frey tries to close the distance against Loma, she's going to get ripped up in that clinch. And I kind of see the same things from Gloria De Paula. I like her clinch game. I think her takedown defense is improving for sure. It's not a good look to lose to Isabella De Padua, that girl who fought Ariane Lipski about a year or two ago. Not a good look to lose to that girl, but I can pretty comfortably say she's improved since then. I was pretty impressed on Contender Series. I gotta say, I can't remember off the top of my head all the women who competed on the last series of Contender Series, but Gloria De Padua was actually one of the ones that stood out to me the most. Obviously, I'm not really high on Jinyu Frey. She's a little older. She's been around forever. All the respect in the world to her. She really is a pioneer. She was in Invicta when I first started watching Invicta, way back in 2013 when they were on Invicta FC9 and shit like that. She's been around the block. Atom weight champion at one point, but that's the key. Atom weight. She really is not a true strawweight in my opinion, and I think Padua is going to have her covered with strength and power as well. So yeah, I mean, barring that she doesn't get held down for 2 rounds, she should win this. Now, I'm not crazy about the price. I had minus 130 on Loma Lookboonmee last fight. Now I see, about minus 170 on Paula. So I'm happy to pass, but she's definitely going to be my pick here. It's just minus 170 on a 5-2 debut, and I'm cool with passing, but I definitely think you got this.
Yeah, understood. And I understand the hesitation with that kind of in general. I'm usually hesitant to do that in general, but tape convinced me otherwise. Courtney Casey and JJ Aldrich, I'll let you kick this one off for us, man.
Yeah, man, I kind of like this fight because, when I think of Courtney Casey, I think of her not so good takedown defense. That's really the glaring hole in her game. She gets taken down almost every single fight, and it's usually done pretty easily. Now with JJ Aldrich, she doesn't really wrestle. She's mostly a striker. Now, I do think she is the more technical striker than Courtney Casey. I think she does have the cleaner boxing than Courtney Casey. But the thing about Courtney Casey is that I feel like she's going to have some size here. I feel like her strikes are going to be the more powerful ones. I think she lands a little more volume as well. She's fought and beat the better girls. I don't know, man. I'm kind of not really sold on Aldrich as a flyweight. I know she did pretty well against Sabina Mazo, but I think it's pretty clear Sabina Mazo might still be a little green, whereas Courtney Casey definitely ain't green. She's been in the UFC, I want to say, definitely over half a decade now. Fought a lot of good girls, and I got to say, man, at this price, I see plus 136. I'm not overly confident. I'm not going to bet it, but at the plus 136, I feel like I should pick Courtney Casey here. I think she is a live underdog. I don't want to trust her. She has shown bad fight IQ in the past as well. I know you remember that fight against Felice Herrig where it's 1-1, 4 minutes into the third round where it's dead close and they're sitting there flipping each other off. It's just stupid shit like that. Kind of steers me away from the Courtney Casey side, but Yeah, man. I got no problem picking her, man. I've never been that high on JJ Aldrich, and I think the more powerful strikes and more volume is going to come from Courtney Casey. It should be a good scrap, though, a good 15-minute kickboxing fight. We'll see if Aldrich mixes in the takedowns. It'd probably be wise of her. Like I said off the top, Courtney Casey does not have the best takedown defense, so we'll see. I just can't really count on Aldrich to do that because we haven't seen it so much in the past. It's a close fight, man. I think it's lined close for a reason. I'm just going to go with the dog because I think there's just a little bit of value there.
Yeah, from a betting perspective, I think it's dog or pass. That said, I'm still passing. I think Aldrich is still, if I were to pick a side, it is as 50-50 as it gets, but I slightly edge Aldrich because, like you said, I think she's more technical. I think she's also better defensively and has better footwork. But we see it in fights like these where Aldrich isn't a dangerous striker. She's not a ground specialist. I got the stats here. She's landed 2 takedowns in the UFC, 0.13 landed per 15 minutes. So like you said, we can't really count on her for wrestling. And yeah, Casey can make it close by having more volume, throwing harder. Like this is one of these fights where it's just like, I think the value is clearly on the dogs just based off the fact that it's this 50-50-ish fight. So while I'm passing on it, I wouldn't be shocked to see the underdog pull something off here. So, but we were kind of talking beforehand, DraftKings, this isn't a fight that I'm really big on. If I were to play one fight or the other, it probably would be Casey. But again, not a fight that I'm overly high on because we'll get to some other ones that are much more intriguing. Fourth fight, Nasrat Haqparast and Rafa Garcia. I'm going to let you kick this one off, man, because you did your homework on this one. I did not. So why don't you just tell the people what to expect out of Rafa Garcia in this matchup?
Yeah, this is a good fight, man. So I like Rafa Garcia. He comes out of that combate scene. He's actually a champion over there. He trains with some really good guys too. He trains with that crew like Cub Swanson, Juan Archuleta, TJ Dillashaw. Trains over there with those guys. He's got a really good skill set, man. I think he's a very, very good grappler. I'm not 100% sure if he's a black belt. I think he's either a brown or a black belt. Regardless, he's a pretty damn good grappler, man, and probably a better one than Nasrat Haqparast. His striking's good too. He's got some pop behind his punches. He's got solid boxing for sure. The only thing I don't like is sometimes he charges in a little recklessly. I feel like he could get caught by a really good striker, which Nasrat is. So I think Nasrat's actually alive for the KO here. And just the biggest thing for me is like I'm high on Rafa Garcia. I think he's going to have a bright future, but if you see that there, he is 5'7". You don't see a whole lot of 5'7" lightweights. Now his last 5 or 6 fights have been at 155, and granted he has had success there, but this is just a whole different level, man. He's a small guy. I mean, you can go check out his Instagram too. Like I wouldn't even be surprised if he was a little shorter than 5'7". Like he's not a big guy, but I'll give it to him. He's very, very tough. Great skill set. I think he took this fight to get into the UFC. Good on him. He's 12-0. He's fighting a good guy here. He's definitely got balls to step up. But I think it's first L time here. I think Nasrat's just gonna be a little too much on the feet striking wise. And then with the grappling, Hoffa's a pretty damn good wrestler, but like I said, this is just a very big step up in competition, a weight class I don't really like him in. Nasrat's a guy who had the really shaky takedown defense in the beginning of his career, and then you see him out here as recently as a fight or two ago against Munoz, who Munoz is a very, very good wrestler, big, strong guy, real lightweight. I feel like if Nasrat can stuff, 90% of takedowns from that guy, he should have no problem stuffing here and either outstrike this guy for 3 rounds or potentially even knock him out. So, I see Nasrat minus 375, about 80% indication, and I think that's fair, man. So I think this is just an easy pass. It should be a very good fight, though. So I'm looking forward to the debut of Hoffa. I think he's going to take this loss. He should probably step down to 145, and I actually think he can give the 145ers some problems. So although I think he's going to lose this fight, I do like the future for Rafa Garcia.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm going to look into this one more after we get off, but just in general, it's hard for me to pick against Haqparast, against anybody stepping in on short notice on the regional scene. And like you said, stepping up a weight class, it's just like you said, Haqparast is one of the most talented prospects in this division in lightweights. It was still perplexing to me, at least, to see a guy even like Tarukian be over 3-1 favor over him. He's just a very solid, well-rounded guy. Doesn't really have any holes in his game. We saw him finish by Dober. He just kind of got caught. So yeah, I'm going to have a sneaking suspicion I'm going to be on Haqparast. Not going to be a hot take based on the odds, but yeah, we'll look into that more. Hanaya and Ray Rodriguez, I'll just, quickly share, like, just basically the way I see this is, unless if Hani is regressed, he's now 36. He has been fighting since 2002. He should win this fight comfortably. We've seen Rodriguez finished on the ground in his most recent losses, as recently as that Kelleher fight. I think Yaya's wrestling is good enough to get Rodriguez to the ground. I don't think Rodriguez is a straight up poor grappler, but he still did get back mounted on the Contender Series by Tony Gravely. Yaya does have the ability to land single legs. He's a very good scrambler, grappler, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, second degree, 80cc champ. Even on the feet, I don't think it's like this complete mismatch either. Rodriguez has some reach on him, but he's very wild. He tends to plant his feet and not move his head off the center line, leaving him to be very hittable. He was rocked on that Contender Series fight. So even on the feet, I don't think like Hani's going to be in like serious trouble. He's always had a pretty solid chin. He's willing to like throw with reckless abandon because he's confident in his jiu-jitsu, because if he hits the ground, he's just like, whatever, this is my world. But yeah, I really feel like Hani's got this. He is a DraftKings consideration for me, a strong one. As for FanDuel as well, I just feel like based on his odds to win and his finish prop and his upside to grapple, it's just too much for me to ignore. So I'm going to be targeting him heavily there. But as far as a betting perspective goes, I'm just going to be staying away from it. Do you kind of see this fight similarly?
Yeah, man. I mean, when I first looked at this fight, I'm like, oh man, Ray Rodriguez versus Hanaya. Ray Rodriguez just handed his neck over on a silver platter to Brian Kelleher, and now he's facing a high-level BJJ guy in Hanaya here. And yeah, it wasn't looking good. But when I actually dug into it, watched Hani's fights, like, yeah, Hani he's a vet for sure. He's got a lot of tools up his sleeve, very high-level jiu-jitsu, and even his striking isn't that bad, because usually guys are so worried about getting taken down that he just completely lets loose. Like, actually, like, his striking's not the prettiest by any means. Like, I'll never sit here and call Hanaya a technical boxer, but like, he's just so comfortable there because he's not worried about getting taken down, and he just throws power, man. And I don't know, I like watching the guy strike. I like watching him fight, but man, he's had some real duds in the UFC. Like, if you get a guy in there who can also grapple, like Joe Soto, for instance, he was heavily favored in that Joe Soto fight. Now, Joe Soto is actually, I think he's a BJJ black belt, and even before that fight, Joe Soto was competing in like the EBIs and all that. And Joe Soto was able to overcome the initial grappling burst, and Hanaya kind of gassed out, and the fight got real sloppy, real bad, and he ended up losing that fight as a big favorite. And man, I feel like if Ray Rodriguez is able to overcome that initial grappling burst, it gets sketchy for Hanaya. So yeah, I'm with you. Hanaya should win this fight. Keyword should, but I feel like if Ray Rodriguez overcomes the early grappling burst, it could get sketchy late. Ray Rodriguez has power in his hands for sure. He actually knocked out Jimmy Flick. So yeah, it's a weird situation. Like, I almost feel like Ray Rodriguez might be a crazy live betting spot where we see Hanaya use a lot of energy trying to submit him in round one. He's known to gas. We get like crazy plus 500 odds on Ray Rodriguez late in the fight. I feel like it could be that situation. Actually, my boy Clint, Diehard MMA podcast, shout out. He actually took the shot on Ray Rodriguez in this spot. Crazy plus 240 odds. And honestly, man, like, if I were to bet this fight, I do think I would rather bet the underdog than the minus 300 favor here. To be completely honest, Hani is an aging guy, and we've seen him slow down and lose fights before in a spot just like this. So Hani's going to be my pick, like, skill set wise. Like, his jiu-jitsu is still top notch, and like I said, Ray Rodriguez did hand his neck over on a silver platter last fight, so could see something similar here. Hani as the smart pick, but it's just one to completely pass from.
Yeah, fair. Charles Jourdain and Marcelo Rojo. I don't know about you, man, but like, I'm on Jourdain here, but I just cannot bet him as this big of a favorite. I mean, he's just been a little too inconsistent for my liking. I thought he turned a corner against Feely, and then, he went right back to his wild ways against Kulabau. So he's an exciting one to watch. I think he wins here. I think he's obviously a much more tested fighter, younger, much more UFC experienced. I think he's if this fight does hit the ground, I think he could submit Jordan's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt. He's a threat from the front headlock position. But man, while I'm picking Jourdain to win here, I'm not going to be betting him at this money line. It's just a complete obvious stay away. Do you kind of see this fight the same way?
I'm actually even a little more confident on Rojo than you might be. I was kind of tinkering back and forth at looking at an underdog shot on Rojo. Even let me bring up this crazy line right here. Marcelo Rojo by KO/TKO, I believe, sits around plus 650 odds, and I feel like that is his path, man. Like most of his wins are by knockout. He does have power in his hands, and I'll say it, man. I do think he's the more technical, defensively sound striker than Charles Jourdain. The only problem I have is Marcelo Rojo is a bantamweight. He's stepping up here against a featherweight. Marcelo Rojo actually he does slow down quite a bit late in fights as well. I think Jourdain has a big cardio advantage, especially if he's going to be fighting against a bigger guy. It's so tiring to fight against a bigger guy. So I think Rojo is actually live for the KO early. Jourdain is very hittable. We've seen him drop multiple times. Duho Choi dropped him, almost finished him. Kulabao dropped him, almost finished him. I just think he has a lot of work to do. And when it comes to wrestling, like I don't think he's landed a single takedown in the UFC. So, well, why am I supposed to believe he's going to get one here, man? I think this is going to be a really competitive striking battle that Rojo is live for the KO in. If it goes late, I'll have to favor Jourdain. I think his gas tank will be better. Like I said, it's tiring to fight against the bigger guys. So, yeah, I don't hate a underdog bet on Rojo at all. I actually do think he's a talented striker, and Jourdain, like he's got a lot of work to do. So I don't know, man. I'm still tinkering back and forth whether I want to bet Rojo. I want to see some money coming on Jourdain. But I mean, for DraftKings GPPs, man, I feel like Rojo is like the ultimate to throw in a couple lineups just based on path to victory, his price. So it's just sketchy though, because like I said, he's a bantamweight. He gasses. It's tough. It's a big fuckery of a fight. We'll just say that. But Jourdain probably is the smart pick. I'll go with him to take over late and get a round 3 TKO. But no way in hell would I ever bet him at minus 250 here.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, and for DraftKings, I think it's a solid one for both sides. I can't even really ignore Jourdain's like inside distance line. It's still solid. I wrote him up in one of my articles. I think I did for DraftKings and FanDuel for when it's released. But yeah, I think if Rojo wins, to your point, one, if he just wins at that price, it's going to be rewarding. But yeah, it could certainly be by a finish as well. Angela Hill and Ashley Yoder. I'll let you kick this one off. This one was rebooked for this event.
Yeah, man, rebooking from about I want to say 3 weeks ago, something like that. A rebooking of a rematch. We have seen this fight before as well. Now, granted, it was a long time ago. I think both girls have improved. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest here. Angela Hill's the better athlete. She's the better striker, more power to the punches, more volume, more technical. Ashley Yoder tends to, the thing about Angela Hill is that she slows down late in fights, like the Michelle Watterson fight where she was starting really strong and then she slowed down. The Claudia Gadelha fight, she was looking good, lost the third round. I don't know how much she has to worry about that here with Ashley Yoder, who actually slows down late in fights. Yeah, I mean, Angie should piece her up. I don't know if Yoder's live to get takedowns here. I think damn, dude, compared to when Angela Hill first came into the UFC, even in Invicta, even when she first came back, her takedown defense wasn't good. But I feel like she's definitely, gotten that a little better. And this fight, it's just a weird fight, man. Why would I ever want to bet Angela Hill at minus 400? And I have no reason to believe Yoder is going to win this fight. It's just one to stay away from, even from DraftKings as well. Like, I'd be shocked if either girl came out here and scored a lot of points. Now, I guess if Yoder won and she's a real cheap fighter, she'll probably end up on a winning lineup. But like, it's just hard for me to pick her in this fight. Like, she's going to have to get Angie's back and like backpack for a whole round, or I don't see her winning the striking. It's just low percentage, any outcome I try to think of for Ashley Yoder here. So I'm going to go with Angela Hill to win a decision just like she did last time, but I'm not really interested in this fight.
So my take is I had a bet when the rematch, the first time it was booked, on Hill wins by decision at minus 160. I'm not getting that line anymore. So I got to stay disciplined. I'm staying away. But I'm pretty much right there with you. Hill should win. She's the better striker in a fight that's going to mainly be won or lost striking. I think Yoder's really tough. She's tough to finish. So I'm with you as far as the DraftKings take goes. I'm going to be fading very underweight to Hill. Especially with the new scoring system, she's unlikely to grapple here. She's unlikely to finish for the betting odds. And so, like, when I'm rostering her at 9,400, it takes away a lot of that upside there. Of course, anything could happen, but for DraftKings, I don't mind Yoder as a cash game consideration, not a cash game lock, but a consideration just as somebody that could put in my lineup and afford everybody else that I want my cash game lineup as somebody could maybe score 30 pints in a loss. But other than that, I'm not too interested in this fight either. So, yeah, going to be staying away from a betting and DraftKings perspective. And we're on to the main card, Eric Anders and Darren Stewart. It's a complete stay away for me because they're both kind of similar. They're both kind of low output in striking exchanges. Stewart's a bit busier. He'll utilize the jab a bit. He'll throw a hard low kick, but just not enough. Anders will just kind of attack you in a flurry. I still favor Stewart, but I wouldn't be shocked to see this sort of split decision 50-50 type fight just based off Anders is fairly well-rounded. He's a strong athlete, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt. He's not a technical wrestler, but I don't really see Stewart having much grappling success here based on that. And like I said, they're both fairly low output. They're both generally durable. I think Anders could have success in the clinch against Stewart. We saw Holland control Stewart in the clinch. We saw Patolo control Stewart in the clinch. I think that's within Anders' realm. He did that against Jocko. But I think the fighter that's going to be doing more damage over the course of 3 rounds is Darren Stewart. That's why I slightly favor him. But for me, it's just going to be a complete pass. I think it's very close. So what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so I am invested in this fight, man. Now, I just want to talk about Eric Anders. I was a big fan of Eric Anders coming into the UFC. I was a big LFA guy. Watched him capture that title out there. I heard he was on the championship winning Alabama football team. He was a linebacker over there. Just a big fan of this guy coming into the UFC. I even bet him in his UFC against Rafael Natal. Knocked him viciously unconscious. Easy money. And then it didn't get much better from there, man. He fought Maluko. And yeah, he won the decision, probably won all 3 rounds. Nothing special. Next fight, they gave him a big one against Lyoto Machida. They're trying to, you can see what they're kind of doing with Anders at that point. They thought the same thing I did, that this guy is going to be a real force in the division. They give him the main event, and man, it was just not a good look. The volume was really low. Machida did his thing. He won, and we're talking about a Machida who was kind of nearing the end. So that was kind of the first thing that made me go, maybe Anders isn't who I thought he was, but who knows? Maybe he can improve. Next fight against Tim Williams, who isn't even in the UFC, by the way, anymore. He dropped around to Tim Williams. That wasn't looking good. It was 1-1 going into the third, and Tim Williams was actually winning that third round, and it wasn't until Eric Anders got that perfect kick KO as he was getting up. So, props to him for getting that KO win, but it was nothing special. He dropped around to a guy who's not UFC caliber. Took a short notice fight against Thiago Santos. I'll give him a lot of props for this one. He looked decent there. He landed a lot of takedowns, but we know the deal with Santos. That's the glaring hole in Santos's game. Next fight against Elias Theodoro, man. This is one I was so disappointed in because at one point he actually hurt Elias Theodoro, but he did not follow up, man. He showed no killer instinct. He dropped him, he hurt him, and he just kind of sat back and admired his work. And I don't like seeing that out of him. And Theodoro was able to do his thing, his little point striking, and took 2 rounds, beat Eric Anders. So losing a couple fights there. And then the Khalil Roundtree fight, where firstly, Eric should not even have been fighting at 205 in the first place. And secondly, he made us all think that Khalil Roundtree was some kind of new guy in that fight, where he did get dropped. And yes, I'm saying this correctly. He dropped 4 times in that fight against Khalil Roundtree. Basically had nothing for him, man. He was just so much slower. It wasn't a good look. Next fight, they give him Venetius Molea, who, he gets knocked out every time he fights in the UFC. So I guess props to him for getting the job done there. Next fight against Gerald Meerschaert. Very, very close fight there against Gerald Meerschaert, where actually, if you look at the stats, Meerschaert did outland Eric Anders there. I was actually at that fight live. I remember thinking that GM3 actually kind of weaseled the victory there. You shouldn't be having close 50-50 fights with Gerald Meerschaert. So here we are in 2019, where I'm not seeing the improvements out of Eric Anders I really wanted to. Now we get to the most recent fight against Krzysztof Jotko, who I'll be honest, Jocko is another guy I'm not very high on. He took some brutal knockout losses, even one to Brad Tavares, who, Brad Tavares doesn't really knock out anybody. That was a not a good look. I figured Eric might have actually had that one, but like Eric Eric looked so gun shy in that fight, and all he really wanted to do was wrestle against Jocko. But every single takedown was just so telegraphed. He didn't get deep on any of them. Let me look real quick to see how many times he shot against Jocko. He shot 5 times against Jocko, didn't get close on a single one. So, I mean, the wrestling isn't really catching up as well either. So it's like the striking isn't coming along, the wrestling isn't coming along. I mean, why am I supposed to believe Eric Anders is going to beat Darren Stewart in this spot now? People will bring up the hole in the game of Darren Stewart's takedown defense. And yeah, Darren Stewart has been taken down a lot. He got held down a lot. People will bring up the Bartosz Fabinski fight. I mean, guys, Bartosz Fabinski is one of the best grinders around. That dude is a beast. Now, if you want to talk about improvements, we can talk about improvements in Darren Stewart. You look at his last fight against Kevin Holland, he actually stuffed every single takedown against Kevin Holland. He actually even ended up on top of Kevin Holland. He made that fight extremely competitive. And we're talking about a guy in Kevin Holland who worked his way up to the top 10. I mean, split decision loss, but that's a loss that's really aging well for Darren Stewart. His striking, I feel like he's much faster than Eric Anders. His hand speed is much faster. Man, I see him definitely landing more volume on Anders here, just landing the cleaner, harder shots. And if you want to make the argument that Eric could wrestle here, it's like, I mean, he wasn't able to get a single takedown against Jocko last fight, and Kevin Holland wasn't able to get a single takedown on Darren Stewart last fight. So I look at a guy in Eric Anders who I kind of think plateaued. I don't think he can go much further in the sport, whereas Darren Stewart, I love the improvements he's making. I'm a big fan of this dude. Even pulled off a sick guillotine against Maki Pitolo, the Darren win victory. That was very nice as well. Even the Edmund Shabazian fight, bro, like he went to split with Edmund Shabazian. Yeah, he got taken down in that fight, but he was rocking Shabazian all over the place, made it very competitive. I see this as an extremely good matchup for Darren Stewart, and I threw him in a 4-unit parlay. I basically just seeing him being the much faster, more technical, sharper boxer than Eric Anders, and I have no reason to believe Anders is going to get takedowns here. So, yeah, I love the price on Darren Stewart. I'm surprised how many people are DMing me. Why do you like Darren Stewart here? I'm surprised to see the money actually coming in favor of Eric Anders. Yeah, I don't get it, man. I'm very confident in this spot, so I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Next fight, Mateus Nicolau and Manuel Cape. Do you want to kick us off here?
Yeah, this is a sick fight, dude. Big fan of Nicolau. So happy he's back in the UFC. And really, it was just that flyweight purge that never should have happened is the reason why he got, cut. He was coming off a loss as well against Dustin Ortiz. But like, firstly, Dustin Ortiz is actually a very underrated fighter. I wish they would have brought him back. I'm a big fan of that dude. He just got caught. It was a shin to chin head kick, like really hard. That would have knocked out most guys. And he's bounced back in the regional scene. He's won every fight in the regional scene. He's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt. I think he's a very sharp boxer as well. Like, I'm a huge fan of Nicolau's skill set. With Manel Cape, he was kind of lackluster in his UFC debut. Like, he lost to Pantoja, and Pantoja didn't even do the one thing I thought he would do, and that's grapple, because you go back and watch that fight, Manel Cape versus Ulka Sasaki back in Ryzen. Not a good look when it comes to Cape's grappling. I think he's got a lot of holes to patch up there, and I hope Nicolau will actually put that BJJ black belt to work here, unlike Pantoja. Pantoja won that fight, but he made it so much harder on himself that he should have. Cape actually started to take over a little bit late. It was just too little too late. Now here with Nicolau, there's a little bit of I've got a little bit of problems with Nicolau's durability. It's not just the Dustin Ortiz head kick knockout. He was actually dropped in his UFC debut against a guy who's no longer with the company. Even going back a few fights before that, he was finished via strikes by Pedro Nobre. I got a good reason to believe this guy might not be the most durable. And when he's facing a guy in Manel Cape who can absolutely crack, a guy who I think is probably going to look a little bit better this time around in his second UFC fight, fighting top 5 or top 6, whatever he was, Pantoja in your UFC debut, that's a tall order, man. And, he was a little gun shy. He definitely lost the first couple of rounds, but I think you could see that he started to get a little more comfortable in there. And Yeah, I think he's going to come out even more comfortable here, and I think he's got to stuff the grappling. That's first. Like Mateus, I feel like that is the route he should go, and he might win that way. I do think Mateus is a live underdog, but I see Manel Cape cracking that chin at least, 50-55% of the time. So I'm going to go with Manel Cape here to win via knockout, but I can't bet him at this price just because I feel like he's just at such a disadvantage with the grappling. And even boxing wise, man, I do think Nicolau is even the more technical boxer. It's just Cape can crack. Nicolau's a little defensively flawed. He's been knocked out multiple times and just not a good look. It's one I'm happy to sit back, play a lot of on DraftKings, kind of even out the field. We'll see what happens. From a betting perspective, I'm sitting back.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a dog or pass from a betting perspective. It's like if Cop doesn't knock him out, I'm not confident that he's going to win. He could, I mean, just because they're kind of like both low output guys in the feet. I think to your point, Nicolau is more technical. I'd say he's more defensively sound. He keeps his hands high, he moves his head, whereas Cop will kind of taunt in there, to put it frank. He'll keep his hands low. But you said it, man. Cop, he, similar to like Figueiredo, has excellent distance management. He moves very well. He's athletic, and he could crack, like you said. And we have seen Nicolau hurt. And so that would be the risk with me betting Cop or Nicolau. The thing pulling me back is like, I don't know how good, like, because I would be betting Nicolau here if I had a better gauge on his wrestling. I mean, I don't think Cop's a great defensive wrestler. I mean, if you could close distance on this guy, we saw Sasaki take him down. You said it. I mean, if you could get this guy on his back, that's where the whole show. It's just, to your point, we didn't really get to see that in the Pantoja fight. I was on Pantoja there as well. It just, maybe it's improved since the Rising scene, but I still don't really know. So it's kind of like this fight with a lot of floating unknowns, despite these guys being fairly experienced. But I do think it's dog or pass. As far as an outright pick goes, I'm going to side with Nicolau because I think he has more passive victory. I think he can win on the feet as long as he doesn't get rocked badly or knocked out. And I think certainly on the ground, if he gets in top position, he could dominate those exchanges. Cop's been, busier, even though it's only been one fight in the UFC octagon. Nicolau's been fighting in the regional scene. I wouldn't be shocked, I guess, to see Cop have, to your point, a better showing here than he did in his UFC debut against Pantoja. And that kind of gives us a gauge as to that Cop is like a top 10 flyweight in the UFC. So his floor is definitely high in this weight class. So I totally hear what you're saying. I'm picking Nicolau, but I'm not going to be betting it. Jonathan Martinez and Davey Grant. I like Martinez here. This is a wide age gap, 26 compared to 35. We're looking at Tapology here. I don't think Martinez's takedown defense is great. Like we saw him taken down by Burin, by Sukmantov, by Sainz, but I think he's improving there. I think that's where Grant's going to have to get the fight to the ground to win. I just don't think he's a great wrestler. So it's going to mostly be Grant has to take down Martinez and control him to win rounds. Otherwise, I just think Martinez is going to pick him apart on the feet. I think he's a better kickboxer. I don't think Martinez is an elite striker. He does tend to cover up a lot when you come at him with strikes. But he is improving, and that's what I like about Martinez. Factory X Muay Thai guy, utilizes various kicks at range. He didn't really utilize them against Almeida last time out, but he has shown the willingness to use them in the past, so I think those will be there for him. And Grant, the thing I don't like about him on the feet is like he'll rush into the pocket with his hands low, leaving him wide open to counters, and so I think those will be there for Martinez. So Grant's very mobile and like tricky on the feet, but I still think Martinez is the better striker there in a fight that I think is going to be one or less standing. So no bet for me here, but I'm going to be picking Martinez. How do you see this fight?
Yeah, man. So Martinez is the other half of my parlay with Darren Stewart. So I got 4 units on that at plus 104. It's actually my 3rd time in a row betting on Jonathan Martinez. I had the KO prop on against Frankie Sainz at some ridiculous price. I had him slight dog money against Thomas Almeida. Comes through both times. Got him here against Davey Grant. Now Davey Grant's actually a guy I've won some money on as well. I got some plus 160, I want to say, against Martin Day, who, I mean, Martin Day is 0-5 in the octagon. That was kind of an easy underdog pick for me. People were just kind of overlooking Davey Grant's, they were just looking at his age and not really looking at Martin Day. And Martin Day isn't really UFC caliber. Now, who is UFC caliber is Jonathan Martinez. This is a guy who I mean, you look at that Sukumdov fight, it's like, wow, this guy doesn't really belong. And it took a couple fights for me to gain some faith back in him. And he's making lightning fast improvements over there at Factory X. I like his game. His striking's nasty. Like, he has so many tools on the feet, the kicks, the knees, the elbows, the punches. He's pretty big for a bantamweight as well. And, you can look at Davey Grant. You can see he's actually never been finished via strikes in his pro career. But when you really dig into it, he has been hurt a lot. He's been dropped a lot. Even Martin Day hurt him, dropped him bad in that fight. Got a little sketchy, but it was actually Davey Grant who came out, got the KO there. And, it's just tough for me to have faith in Davey Grant to be able to come out here and wrestle Martinez, an improving young fighter who, I mean, you look at the Frankie Sands fight. I think Frankie Sands is a much better wrestler than Davey Grant, and he was able to stuff a lot of the takedowns. He was able to get back up when he did get taken down, and I feel like that's what he's going to be able to do here if Davey Grant's able to get the takedowns. But, like, the thing is, Davey Grant's been falling in love with his hands, man. Like, he hasn't been shooting that much, and if he tries to strike here with Jonathan Martinez, like, it's not going to go well. But like I said, I got faith in him, even if Davey Grant does decide to go down that route. Now, it's minus 300. I just feel like it's worth it. Like, I was just looking for a parlay piece with Stewart. I looked into a lot of different guys. I looked at Jourdain, didn't like it. Didn't like a lot of the big favorites, but Jonathan Martinez is one I felt very comfortable in. Like, I got no problem capping Martinez at minus 400, 80%, honestly. So, yeah, it was an easy parlay for me to make. Younger, more dangerous, better athlete against a aging fighter who, I know he got the good win against Martin Day, but this is such a big step up from that guy who just went 0-5 in the octagon.
There. Yeah, I hope that parlay cashes for you. And then we've got Danny Ige and Gavin Tucker. I'm really looking forward to this one. I've bet on both guys in the past, actually, multiple times. Do you have any action on this fight?
No, I don't. I'm happy to sit back and watch this fight play. I think the line's pretty accurate with Danny Ige, very, very slight favorite. I mean, this fight, the way it's going to play out, I feel like it's going to play out close but clear. Like, I give Ige. I mean, honestly, I give Ige the advantage almost really everywhere, but only by like a slim margin. Like, I feel like Tucker can land takedowns here, but I feel like Ige can land takedowns here. I feel like Tucker can have moments on the feet. I feel like Danny Ige can have even bigger moments on the feet. Like, Ige is shown to be more durable on the feet. He hits really hard. We've seen Gavin Tucker rocked multiple times in the past. So on the feet, like, yeah, I do think Tucker might even be he's a little more technical than Ige, let's be honest, but like, Ige just has that go forward Hawaiian pressure where he just throws bombs, and I feel like he's going to be backing up Gavin Tucker and landing some big shots. So I got to favor him there. I feel like Gavin, where he needs to have success, is takedowns. We have seen Ige take it down. We have seen him give up some bottom time in the past, and yeah, Gavin Tucker could definitely come out here and steal 2 rounds via top control or even have big moments on the feet, but it's just hard for me to favor him when he's been fighting guys like Justin James and Billy Quarantillo, whereas Dan Ige's been out there winning fights against Edson Barboza. No matter who you scored that for, he had a very, very close fight with top 10, top 15 Edson Barboza. I don't care who you scored it for. It was a great performance. And then Calvin Kattar, I think I gave him around 2 against Calvin Kattar. So it's like, yeah, he lost that fight, but he made it somewhat competitive. I'm not convinced Gavin Tucker would win a round against Calvin Kattar. So it's just like level of competition, experience. There's even a wide age gap, man. Danny Ige, 28 years old. Gavin Tucker, 34. Now, granted, Gavin Tucker is a 34-year-old in his prime for sure. I'm just not convinced he can go much further than beating the Billy Q's of the world and the guys outside the top 15, whereas Dan Ige, I feel like he's done a good job of establishing himself as a top 15 guy. Now, I'm not just sitting here making picks based off rankings. I just feel like that experience means something. If you don't think 5 rounds against Calvin Kattar is a great learning experience, is going to make him better, I don't know what to tell you. So, yeah, I got Dan Ige. You can even see a little nice reach advantage on there as well. So, yeah, I slightly favor Ige, but just you can't bet him because I don't see there being value. There's totally a chance Tucker can make this close. So, yeah, who do you got?
I mean, I hear you. Like, it just comes down to, is Tucker ready for this level yet? And I hear what you're saying. Like, there's always going to be the crowd that says, maybe he's not ready in the step up competition. There's people that say he is. My eyes tell me that he's a better technical fighter, to your point. He is both on the ground and on the feet. My issue, and what you kind of pointed out, was like he's been hurt, against James, against Glenn, and maybe even against Billy Quarantillo. It wasn't exactly clear, but the commentators made a point of that. Dan hits really hard. I've known that from following him. We've seen that in the Henry fight, in the Aguilar fight. He's known as a grappler, but he could crack. He's got 5 inches of reach on Tucker. So that's going to be the liability with Tucker. It's like, could he survive a big shot in the feet from Dan? Because if he does, I think he's got a decent chance to win. Dan, like you said, he's got this tendency of kind of, and it often happens in round 2, where he's just kind of content to like lay on his back. I think it's like a cardio thing. He'll just like kind of drop round 2 to like get energy back in round 3. We saw that against Aguilar. We saw that against Bektic. We saw it against Griffin. He's done a better job of it recently. We saw him go 5 rounds, to your point. I think he is getting better. Both of them are only going to get better, right? But if he does that to Tucker, if he's just like, okay, I'm just going to lay here, like Tucker's going to get on top of him, I think, and probably maintain top control. So Ige, even though I've backed him in the past, there's just too many tendencies that I've seen. Well, that tendency in particular, and just like the inferior technical fighter here, to where I don't feel confident backing him as a favorite. I'm picking Tucker to win, but the betting odds would have to get better for me to place a bet. What are we at right now? Plus 129. I would like a little bit better number, to be honest. I'll be monitoring that line. I don't know if we're going to get there, but it's just a matter of, to me, kind of like DePuela, at least how I see it, is he ready? If so, if he's ready and he could survive a big shot on the feet from Ige, I think he should win. But that is an if nonetheless. So I totally get everybody that doesn't think that, and that's on Ige. That makes total sense. There's a few fights like that on this card. There's been a few fights that we've seen in the past few weeks, like Kyler Phillips and Song Yudong. That was that was the argument that I saw and you saw too. Was he ready for Yudong? We thought he was. It happens, but then we see plenty of times where it doesn't happen. So that's just one example where it worked out favorably, but there's other times where it doesn't. So yeah, co-main event, the sexiest fight to target on DraftKings. I mean, right off the top, I mean, this fight is very unlikely to go the distance. We're looking at best fight odds here. Minus 400, at least on Bet Online, minus 455, Bet 365. I mean, we were talking beforehand. The way I see this fight is I think Serkinov's better everywhere. I think he's a better striker. He's got more variety. I think he's better technically. I think he's better defensively. And I think he's a better grappler. He's a judo practitioner, double leg takedown, great guard passer. We saw him get the mounted crucifix against Crute. He's a very dangerous submission grappler in top position. The thing with Serkinov, though, is like you could say that he's a better fighter than these guys that he's losing to. At least in my opinion, he is. I think he's better than Oezdemir. I think he's better than Walker, and it might surprise some. I think he's better than Teixeira as well. That might sound bold. That might sound foolish, but let's look at those fights, right? I mean, he got caught with 2 big shots from heavy hitters and Walker and Oezdemir and good on them. And that could happen here is the thing that I'm, I guess, getting to is Spawn. He has enough power to maybe he could hurt him on the feet. And then also the Teixeira fight. He was boxing Teixeira up, and then Teixeira takes him down from like a body lock and then just easily takes his back and then finishes him. I mean, we know Teixeira is great on the ground, but a guy as credentialed as Misha is on the ground, it shouldn't have been, I guess, that easy for Teixeira to do that. Like there should have been some resistance in there, but there really wasn't. Even the Crute fight, we saw him almost finished by Crute. He got a sweep and good on him, and then he got a Peruvian neck time. That is encouraging that was his most recent fight. We saw him overcome adversity there, but the betting odds are competitive for a reason. I mean, Spawn is dangerous enough as a striker, as a grappler as well. He's got a very good guillotine choke to where I wouldn't be shocked to see him win. So that's where I'm going to get my exposure to this fight. I'm not going to be betting either side. I think Serkinov, I do side with the better fighter here in Serkinov because that's how I tend to analyze fights. But for DraftKings, I feel like I want to have exposure to both sides. He's reasonably priced, very unlikely to go to decision, and they both got a high chance of finishing. So that's where I'm going to be be getting exposure to this fight. So long-winded rant, but how do you see this fight?
Yeah, man, I'm totally with you that this fight is amazing for DraftKings, and I'm totally with you about it rightfully being lined very close now. Only difference is I'll actually go the other way. I'll go with Ryan Spann here, and really, I mean, all the, some of the flaws people will talk about with Ryan Spann, always chinny. Misha Serkinov is a little chinny too, and not only that, like you mentioned it with the Glover fight, when Misha gets put in a bad spot, it usually doesn't go well. Now, in the Crute fight, people will say he overcame adversity there, but I almost feel like that was more of not what Misha did right, but with what Crute did wrong. Like he was green, he made a mistake, and he allowed Misha to capitalize. And props to Misha, amazing grappler. I feel like he's got the advantage there, and I agree with what you said about him probably being better everywhere as well. It's just matchup wise, I kind of just feel like this might be a good one for Spann, just in the sense that I feel like he can get to Misha first on the feet before like really any kind of grappling or anything like that comes into play. Like got a big size, reach, power, athleticism advantage here, like 6'5", big old reach advantage. I just feel like he might get to Misha Serkinov like real quick. We've seen Misha Serkinov actually get knocked out very quickly multiple times in fights, and it's not just a coincidence that shit has happened more than once. Guys can get to him, and he's not the most durable. And a guy who in Ryan Spann, who's younger, he's making improvements. I know the Walker fight wasn't a good look for sure, but hey, I mean, he was winning until he wasn't, and the way he got finished actually is the way he got finished multiple times via elbows off the takedown. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think he's going to be shooting on Misha here. I think he's going to be trying to knock Misha out for sure. And I just feel like with that reach, the power, and not only that, activity, man, he's been fighting a lot more recent than Misha. We haven't seen Misha in a while, and I want to say Misha only has one fight within the last couple of years, whereas Ryan Spann's been a little more active. He's got some good experience. Now, I see you got his record pulled up, so many people, and I can't blame them for shitting on him for that Sam Alvey performance, but like what I'll say about that Sam Alvey fight, like I'm a little more lenient on Ryan Spann, and I give him a little less flack than most for that, just because like he was going for that arm triangle standing, and like he put so much energy into that, and it just slowed him down. It killed his arms, and I don't want to say he was in survival mode ever since, but like it kind of was. Like it really took a lot out of him. And Sam Alvey, I mean, I'll say I think Sam Alvey is tougher and more durable than Misha Serkinov. Now, yeah, Misha Serkinov is a much better fighter, but it's a matchup thing. And Sam Alvey overcame the the early energy, and Sam made it sketchy, even hurt Ryan Spann. But Sam Alvey hits hard. How many knockouts does Sam Alvey have in the UFC? A fucking lot. And you know what? Ryan Spann still overcame adversity and won that fight. That was a good look. I mean, leading into that Johnny Walker fight, Ryan Spann was what, on like an 8-9 fight win streak? I mean, the guy's out here winning fights. Now, granted, this for sure is a big step up. Misha's the man. Misha's a legit black belt. Misha can crack as well. It's just stylistically, man, like he's just much more of a knockout threat than Misha, in my opinion. I think he can get to him early. If not, he'll probably gas. That's another thing. His cardio isn't the best. If this goes late, I got to favor Misha there as well, and I totally get why Misha's the favorite. I just have more of a gut feeling that Spann's going to be able to get to him early and get that early knockout. So as an underdog, I will go with him.
Yeah, totally get where you're coming from. Yeah, we see. I mean, the activity thing I think is important. That was part of the reason why I bet Poirier against McGregor. But I think there's like different degrees of it. Like I was big on Makhachev against Dober, who we'll segue into Leon Edwards and Bilal Muhammad with that, where it's like, yeah, these guys haven't fought in like near 2 years. But if I think it's such a good style matchup for the guy that's coming in on the layoff, I tend to pick him anyway. And in the case of Makhachev, I even bet him. I just felt like it was a great style matchup for him. And I know the guy's putting in work despite not fighting in the octagon. He's only going to get it better. But we'll get into the main event now. And like, yeah, to me, I love both guys. I bet on them both in the past, especially Edwards. I bet Edwards against RDA, against Nelson. He's just the better fighter, in my opinion. And I see the shape Leon's in. He's putting in the work. Bilal's looked great. I mean, he's done his thing. He's got a very good win over Lyman Good. But to me, I just don't really know where he's better than Leon. I don't think he's really better than Leon anywhere. he's got activity going in his favor, but Leon's a better athlete, the better technical fighter, I think. Bilal could maybe have some success winning rounds by outworking him, maybe mixing in some takedowns. I just don't really see him dominating Leon, whereas I could see Leon kind of dominating Bilal kind of at range. Leon fights very good at range, very good kicks, great distance management, has power. So, yeah, I think Leon is rightfully favored here. The more skilled fighter, the better athlete, the better resume, and also has more 5-round experience in the UFC against Cerrone, against RDA. So, I'm on Leon Edwards here. I love Bilal Muhammad, but I tend to think this is a tough stylistic matchup for him. So you kind of see this fight the same way?
Yeah, man, I think it's nearly impossible to be able to pick or cap Bilal Muhammad the favorite here, just based on skill set. I think for sure Leon has him covered across the board. The question for me is their value on Bilal Muhammad. A very good technical fighter, top 15 guy, seeing him in the plus 200s. I mean, anytime I see a guy of Bilal Muhammad's level in the plus 200 range, I'm immediately interested. I mean, and I looked into it, and a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this, but I do think this is a dogger pass situation. And it's crazy. Like when this fight got announced and the line dropped like a day later, I'm seeing people bet max bets on Leon Edwards literally like a day after this fight got announced. I'm seeing a lot of cocky tweets like, is there anybody out there actually picking Bilal Muhammad? Like I'm seeing a lot of just cocky confidence on Leon Edwards, and I feel like a lot of the time when that happens, the unexpected happens. And it's not like Bilal Muhammad doesn't have a path to victory here. I mean, he does have good volume. I could see him pressuring Leon backwards. Leon actually has given up rounds late in fights, like the Cowboy Cerrone fight. That shit wasn't all fun and games. Cowboy Cerrone went out there, won a round or two, made it pretty close. Later, the fight got into it, and yeah, I mean, activity again. You mentioned it. We haven't seen him in a while now. I have no reason to believe he regressed or anything like that. He's a young guy. He's doing very well for himself. Nice win streak, but like I don't know, man. Like okay, so we'll start with the Vicente Luque one. That was just a case of where at that point Vicente Luque just really had no idea how to stuff a takedown. Good win against Brian Barberina, but even that fight had some sketchy moments. Peter Sabota, who he's cut. Donald Cerrone, kind of an aging fighter. Rafael Dos Anjos, another kind of aging fighter. And I'll give him credit. He did a great job in those fights, but he's not fighting an aging fighter anymore. He's fighting a guy in his prime in Bilal Muhammad, who, you see that shirt he wears in the gym, hardest working guy in the gym. He really is, man. Like I say it all the time. I think Bilal Muhammad is pretty damn close to almost a perfect fighter. The only thing I wish he had more of was athleticism. He's not the fastest guy. He's not the most explosive guy, but he does everything right, and he's great everywhere. But you look at this Gunnar Nelson versus Leon Edwards fight. This is one where it got kind of sketchy for Leon, where he actually got hurt there late in the fight. He got taken down by Gunnar Nelson, and Bilal Muhammad doesn't have the most power in the world. I'd be surprised to see him hurt Leon. I think if anybody hurts somebody, I actually think it would be Leon hurting Bilal, but I can see Bilal having moments. I can see Bilal stealing rounds with big shots. I can see Bilal landing takedowns. Like, all in all, for plus 200 range, like, I can see Bilal pulling out 3 rounds here in a very close fight. Like, I could see it, but it's just hard for me, man, because I just feel like Leon's going to be a lot faster, a lot more technical. He's going to use that footwork. He's going to pick Bilal apart with the jab, and even those elbows, like, oh man, Leon is so nasty in that clinch. Like, I'm a huge fan of Leon. Don't get me wrong. I know I'm sitting here making a case for Bilal Muhammad, but that's mostly just because, like, I don't like to see a guy in Bilal Muhammad be plus 200 when the reality is, like, I am a big fan of Leon. He's got a great skill set. Leon can wrestle too, man. Leon can wrestle his ass off. He's a great fighter. He's ranked top 5 in the world for a reason. He's the favorite here for a reason. So I'm going to go with Leon Edwards to take the decision here, but do not count out my boy, Bilal Muhammad.
Yeah, do not count out. Remember the name. How could we? Yeah, man. I think we did a great job covering the card from top to bottom. I'd like to thank you again for joining me. Thank you to the viewers for watching us. You guys, if you don't already, please follow Kelton on Twitter at MMA Kelton. It's also going across the banner there below. You could also follow me as well at AJ_Shulo. Please feel free to subscribe to this channel, like the video, and leave a comment below. Kelton, any last remarks, any things you like to plug? Floor is yours.
Yeah, man, I'd like to thank you for having me on. This was a lot of fun. Again, like I feel like I could sit here and talk fights with you every week, man. So yeah, appreciate you having me on. Thank you, AJ viewers. Appreciate you guys. Follow me on Twitter at MMA Kelton. Follow me on YouTube at MMA Kelton. I'm going to be doing my own podcast tomorrow with Lags the Capper from the Club and Sub podcast. Those guys are all great. I'm trying to get them all on one by one. I've had Luke on, now I'm getting Danny on. I'll probably end up having John on pretty soon. So like, yeah, it's a good time over there. So appreciate you guys and thank you, AJ. It's a lot of fun, man.
Awesome stuff. Yeah, go check out Kelton's YouTube channel. Go feel free to give him some love there, the subscribe button, all good stuff. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Appreciate the support and best of luck this Saturday.